Oh, hello, my friends. It's another episode of the O Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, CW. Wow, that was very exacerbated. And today I want to tackle something that came to my attention that, I don't know, it made me want to talk about it. And that's all my favorite wrestlers are old and retired. I got into wrestling in the mid 80s. No, the late 80s. I believe there was a TV show WWE had, or when it was WWF, they had a show on Fox Channel 5 in New York City every Saturday. I can't remember the name of it to save my life, and I'm not gonna look it up. But it was a 30-minute show, 30 or 1 hour minute show, where they showed maybe one match from Raw or something, and they kind of did some recaps from the week in wrestling. It's basically what like main event would be or something, and I would watch wrestling while I played with my toys on the floor. It was I think it was on Sunday, not Saturday. I think it was on Sunday on Fox. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I got into wrestling in the late 80s, and I was introduced to a bunch of now what are now considered legends, Shawn Michaels and Junkyard Dog, Undertaker, you name it. I grew up on those guys, and I just read an article, jump forward many years. I just read an article that Shawn Michaels says he is retired. HBK, the Heartbreak Kid, is officially retired. He's done wrestling. He's not getting back in the ring. We all know that, wrestlers can't turn it off, so maybe he'll show up in the ring again as a special referee. He can slap on one of those ref shirts and do a slow 3 count. That's totally possible, but him actually competing in the ring, I doubt it will happen again. I mean, the man has had such a crazy, illustrious career. Why would he, right? I mean, hopefully he stays retired. He is, he's one of the greats, but I don't want to see him Ric Flair himself into a very uncomfortable last match. But that's neither here nor there. He said he's not wrestling anymore, and I took stock of all the wrestlers I grew up with that I really enjoyed watching, and they're all retired. They all have stopped doing it. Now, granted, professional wrestling isn't something that's, it is a very long-term, lifelong career. I mean, Ric Flair is in his 70s, and he just had his last match this summer. That's not to say that you should wrestle that long, but your body takes a toll, right? You get beat up pretty bad, and it has long-lasting effects on these professional wrestlers. But I don't know, maybe I was just taking stock of how old I am, but I was like, okay, Undertaker, he's done. Shawn Michaels just said he's not wrestling anymore. Triple H has inherited the company. He's running things. He's not wrestling anymore. Plus, he has, health issues, so he can't do it anymore. D'Lo Brown, he retired a while ago. Stone Cold, The Rock, John Cena. John Cena's about to get back in the ring for the December 30th edition of SmackDown. But for all intents and purposes, he is retired. He's not a full-timer. He's not a part-timer. He is an attraction now. He shows up. He does, the you can't see me thing, and he goes back home or whatever. He probably has something that he wants to promote. Who knows? But every wrestler that I grew up with, I'm talking about growing up as a child to, being a young adult to being an actual adult and liking professional wrestling. A lot of them have, either transitioned to other careers or are full-on retired. Rikishi, Godfather, Gangrel. Well, I think Gangrel's still wrestling, actually. Who else? Who else am I missing? I'm not even counting the truly old school wrestlers who paved the way and are, have passed, like Macho Man Randy Savage, who does our tag at the end. Thank you, Macho Man, R.I.P. Friggin' Jake the Snake, he's not dead, but he's, a legend, but he doesn't, why would you expect him to do it anymore anyway? But I think I've gotten off track. I've gone a little too far back to people who should be retired. But, Kane's out there wilding out, being a mayor. It's just the amount of Attitude Era stars who have retired, the amount of what do you call the era right before the Attitude Era? I don't remember it having a name, but whatever that era was, those guys and gals, they've all, taken it back. Come on, Lita, Amy Dumas, are you kidding me? One of the greatest wrestlers WWE has ever had. She's just retired, got hurt, retired. Edge retired for a while there. He came back to an immense pop. Go check out our Royal Rumble, best Royal Rumble episode for more on that. I was just looking at the landscape of professional wrestlers that I enjoyed and, had some really great times watching, and a majority of them are just not doing it anymore. And of course, they have to make way for, the younger generation to come in and do their thing. But even some of those guys, some of the younger guys are coming up on, being vets. I would say someone like Austin Creed, who's been doing it for a very long time. He's still a young guy, but I would consider him and Kofi vets. They're the New Day. They do their thing. He said on one of his episodes of Up, Up, Down, Down, he's like, anytime, doesn't matter where you put them in the card, they're the main event, and he's not wrong. They draw, they have the fans behind them. They're vets, but they're also super young. Well, Kofi's not super young, but Xavier Woods, crazy young. Tyler Breeze, I don't think he's wrestling anymore yet, but they've been doing it for a while. And the wrestlers that they came up admiring are now retired as well. So it's not a bad thing, but it was a moment for me to be like, oh, and I appreciate all the time and energy that these performers put into their craft and kind of going out there every other day, being away from their family. Like these wrestlers do a lot. And the fact that they get to just now chill out and, not hurt themselves anymore and still make money in the business is great. Because come on, The Undertaker went on a full-on tour when he retired. When he was done with the business, he fully capitalized on. I don't know whose idea it was. It was probably Vince's idea, honestly, but I don't know whose brilliant idea it was to put that man on a media tour. I watched every single interview he did. I watched his Hot Ones interview that he did virtually. The Undertaker eating hot wings and talking about wrestling is, how do you beat that? The man went on a crazy media tour and the man drew, and it led to him having his own one-man show. I want to stop for one moment and just ask anyone who's listening who grew up on The Undertaker, did you ever think that The Undertaker, the Phenom, the dead man, would ever have a one-man show where he just told stories on stage? No, because you thought growing up that was a real mystical dead man who would bury his opponents. That's how dedicated to the gimmick he was. He was in it. I don't know anyone else who was that deep in their gimmick. Maybe Rowdy Piper and like those old school heels, because they used to catch heat going through airports, and they would sell it. Maybe Haku. I'm pretty sure Haku never had a gimmick. I think he was just him, and he was just so intense that they say, to make a perfect gimmick, just take yourself and turn it up to 11. I think he was always at 11, and he didn't have to do anything. They just like, yeah, man, do your thing. But yeah, just seeing The Undertaker retire, which whoever thought that would happen, and then do one-man shows and interviews and hearing him talk like a regular dude and just realizing that, yeah, he's a person, just some guy. He's just a tall, big guy with, some athleticism and a penchant for the theatrical. Fantastic. Anyway, well, what wrestler did you get surprised that got retired? I don't know how to end this episode. Anyway, subscribe to the podcast, leave a comment, hit the bell. We're on Spotify. Thanks for listening. And don't forget, I am your what?
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah.